There you go.
Okay, well, welcome to the November 3rd, 2021 meeting of the Municipal Building Commission. And I would like to start out by saying that the bad news is we're losing a member, but the good news is we're gaining a city councilor. Congratulations, Kelly.
Yay!
Thank you so much.
You're muted, Kelly.
She said,
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Yep. Yeah, a resounding victory. Congratulations. So I guess even though we can tell from the screen that we have a full house, Jeremy, we need to follow the open meeting law and call the roll.
all right, Terry,
Here.
Ed. Here. Jackie,
Yes, here.
Gail,
Here.
Jerry,
Here.
Mike,
Here.
Andrew,
Here.
Kelly,
Here.
Jack.
Here.
We're all here.
Great. So as long as we're in the mode of roll calling, we have minutes from September 8th and October 6th. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve both.
Second.
Thank you. Jeremy?
Terry,
Yes.
Ed. Yes. Jackie,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
and Jack.
Yes, passes unanimously. I guess we should move on to the library. Is Evan with us?
No.
I don't see him.
Amy's with us.
I'm here.
I'm gonna reach out to Evan, but Amy, could you give us an update on the availability of the library to the public and how how you're progressing with access in different rooms and whatnot?
Sure, we are open to the public. All of the collections are available. Our meeting rooms are not available. Meeting rooms are currently being used either for like a base of operations for the remaining workers, or they're being used for storage. The balconies were delivered today.
Wow.
Yep, so they're being painted before they're installed. The hand railings on the front stairs are just about finished. There's still no railing on the few stairs leading to the parking lot. So we can't use those stairs, but we can use the sidewalk and the back staircase. So people have been thrilled. We've been getting lots of new people who just want to see what was behind all those screens for all those weeks. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of happy faces right now.
Very good. Evan, your thunder was just stolen.
I got it taken care of, Evan.
My apology. I had a trouble finding the link again, but so what did I miss?
Well, Amy just said that the balconies have arrived, that the railings are almost done, that other than a few meeting rooms where punch list work is being based out of, the library's open.
Excellent. Well, if I could dovetail with that and share some photos of progress that at least included balconies on the ground from earlier today.
Please
I
do.
will go ahead and do that. All right, can everyone see my screen at this point?
Yes, we can see
Okay.
balconies.
Yep, so I'm just going to quickly run through work over the last month included, this is some foundation work for the stairs, some form work for that. It's getting poured. That's the finished product. We have additional sidewalks in place. Kind of an aerial view, so you'll see the newly poured stairs in the entry plaza, as well as the new sidewalks out to the street, and then the area prepped for bituminous. which you can see the area. So this was regraded to be able to address some issues with the slope and handicapped access over there. Again, some additional shots. Here's a roof shot with the roofs largely cleaned up from earlier this month. And then some at grade. This is our new surround at the entrance there. So those are all new windows and some newly painted doors at the original entry to the library. Right, some of the repair work and other things going on here with the copper quite a bit patinaed. And then we have some rail extensions. This is part of the accessibility work that has gone on, as well as some interior energy panels. These are, in essence, interior storms that between the kind of historic windows on the outside and this glass panel on the inside that provides, in essence, kind of a thermal break so that we're not just getting transmission of heat or cold through a single pane window. Some of the final ductwork that occurred on the upper floors, here it is painted. Some of the bench and window staining that had occurred, and some of the work in progress relative to the plinths that were required for these floor units. Again, a new railing down the center here of the existing stair. And here's what those windows look like from inside that history room, and then down at the children's room, the newly installed windows and kind of back in operation there. And then just from earlier today, this area that was the laydown area in front, all of that fencing and materials have been removed. This has been loamed and seeded. And then the balconies, at least 4 of the 6 delivered, and some of the repair or restoration work there. So any questions relative to work progress at this point?
Yeah, do we think the grass is going to grow, or are they going to have to come back next spring?
Yes, Mother Nature will either cooperate or not, and they may need to be back in the spring.
And we're about a month past substantial completion now. So I know that there were 3 windows that had to be remanufactured and won't show up for another month. But are we knocking off the punch list, Evan?
So I believe that we are. I think there are a couple of items. So
Deb's joined us.
yep, let me try to reshare, because I thought that oh, maybe they didn't get in. So some of the punch list or remaining work included Dutchman at the old entry stairs there, and they actually were doing that today. So yes, they are moving along with that. I know there's been some training that's been going on, and there are a few items that I think they're going to come back for relative to thermostats and some of the rest of that question or two that Amy and her folks had, I think, after the training. Perhaps the thermostats were not, in essence, relocked or adjusted so that anyone couldn't just come along and change those. Amy, is that correct?
Yes, there's still work to be done on those. So we're getting to the finish line.
Yeah.
Any questions for Evan from the commission?
Yeah, Jack, just a brief question. Obviously, Public Works doesn't have much to do with this job, but we only deal with the right of way. But have all the sidewalks been checked for ADA compliance? I know you kind of touched on a little bit, Evan, but I think it's been a problem we've seen throughout the city where contractors been setting their forms at 2%, which is actually the maximum. Then all of a sudden the pour comes in at 2.2 or something, which is above. So I just want to make sure that the ADA compliance has been met or somebody's been watching over that.
So I know that I think the civil engineer is still due out now that kind of exterior work that was under his purview. So Deborah, I don't know if he's got a smart level or some other thing to be able to check that, but my understanding was that you were going to notify him and he was going to come out and.
Right, he was gonna come for one more visit once everything was done, so I think, where all the paving and I guess the railings on the, those side stairs are part of their scope as well. So the whole reason we ripped up that sidewalk was because it was just slightly in excess of the slope allowed by accessibility, so it better be fixed now, because we don't want them to have to rip it up again.
No, that would be expensive for the contractor, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would be expensive for the contractor.
But unfortunately not unheard of. That Mike's right, that happens all too often. Brand new projects and whatnot, and you expect that the slopes and the grades are met. And so Mike, we will have that checked.
Okay.
I'm making
Thanks,
note to have
Evan.
them checked, though.
Yeah, thanks, Evan. I appreciate that. But unfortunately, it's been a major problem over the last 3 or 4 years where they're just, they're setting their forms to the percentage that the ADA requirement is, and then the pour actually gets done and exceeds it. So, then they ask, well, if it's not 2%, which is the maximum, is 2.1 acceptable. So then we start dealing with these, fractions that we don't want to deal with. I had one contractor who had to pull up 1,000 feet of sidewalk over this, and it's not a good conversation to have. So I wish I would have had the time to actually go over there and actually talk with them, but we just want to make sure everything's ADA compliant. It is a liability to the city if it's not. But I appreciate you chipping in on that.
Yep, understood.
Any other questions? Deb, anything you want to add to the update?
No, I think we're just about there. There's some little things, but hopefully it'll all get done, that they're motivated to really finish everything.
One thing that just occurred to me, there's an elevator lockout to keep the public from going to the 4th floor. Is that something that we're doing under this contract, or Jeremy, is that something we're doing separately?
No, we have a separate PO with United Elevator to do that work as part of the project, but outside of Track's contract.
And where are we on that?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, so Jeremy's looking to me. Yep, so United has a copy of the PO and their proposal that was sent to them, I think last week. And I had just asked them to coordinate with Amy directly, but to keep me in the loop about timing and schedule to perform that work, and ask them to send any certified payrolls to me relative to that, and any invoicing to me as it is outside the tracked contract. So I have not yet heard back from them. I will check it when that was sent and follow up with a phone call if we don't get a response out of them in the next day or two.
Yeah, because when I was in the library last week, duct tape was the lockout. It was effective.
It worked. It worked.
Right, there's some signage and banking ropes or something
Yes.
to stop folks.
Yeah, so, okay, then if there aren't any other questions, we're still on track to finish everything by the first of the year. Is that correct, Evan?
I think that is safe to say. I believe that the replacement windows are coming in a couple of weeks, and those will get taken, and the correct unit and glass sizes worked into those overall units and get those installed. And the latest from the contractor is they still believe that that should be occurring prior to or around mid-December. So with that, I would expect that we would be able to have a final closeout requisition from them at the end of December and be able to close this out, at least their contract, with the January building commission meeting.
Okay. And then when will Amy get her public meeting rooms back? Do we know?
I do not know. So Amy, the current status of that, I did not go inside today when I was there.
They're almost out. They're almost out. Not quite.
Yeah,
So they must have some final cleaning then to do once they get out, right?
yes, they should certainly leave that in better condition than they found it.
Okay. All right, then if there aren't any other questions or issues, we can move on to the budget update, change log, and soft cost log and the other things on our agenda.
Yep. So library budget has
Hey,
been.
could I just ask you one question, Evan?
Sure.
You just flashed onto those white balconies. What color are they going to be?
Barcelona beige, the same
Yeah.
color as the windows.
Okay, thank you. All right,
Yep.
Evan, talk to us about numbers.
Sure. So budget update, you'll see the last month's budget just to the right, all the way to the left here, the column is our current updated budget with the adjustment numbers down here. Basically change order 7 that's before you tonight for approval has been added. The total tracked contract number has been adjusted accordingly. And as has the estimated total construction, and construction contingency has been reduced by that amount, and the project budget remains the same. So with change order 7, that would leave us a construction contingency of just over $1.1 million, and our soft cost contingency remains at just over $45,000.
So all things being equal, we should be not borrowing over $1.1 million for this project. And Jeremy may well ask the city council to reduce the bond authorization.
Yeah, we will ask them as part of a cleanup later in the fiscal year to rescind their earlier vote of $6.9 million and then come back and revote the number that it is that we actually need to borrow. And then when we go out to borrow before the fiscal year end, we will just borrow less.
Okay, great. It's always good to have a successful project financially as well as physically.
Right, absolutely.
All right. So then where are we going to change order number 7?
Yeah, well, let me just jump to the change log.
Okay, go right ahead.
Here. Basically, I've highlighted the items that have changed. So change order 7 before you is kind of 3 separate items, although one of them is multiple allowance reconciliation. So we have CR 17, which is furnish and install these plinths or bases for the fan coil units to sit on. These are the floor mounted items that we needed to provide a base for to be able to get piping in and out and have the best look possible there. And that's basically due to unforeseen conditions and limitations that we came upon. That's in the amount of $20,666.80. There's a CR change request 29, which is for some electrical work to remove and reinstall light fixtures. This is to facilitate the HVAC above ceiling work. And that's in the amount of $1,589.75. And then change request 30 is the project allowance reconciliation, which is a bunch of adds and deducts that I can go through when we actually get to the change order. But the net amount of that change request is $59,387.81. And I will note that that is, due to tract, but it includes the almost $12,000 for the repair work that was associated with the E-rate project. So looking for approval tonight on CO change order number 7 in the amount of $81,644.36. And just to, so relative to here, we've just adjusted to include change order 7 in the construction contingency piece. So that has been updated and matches the budget that we were just on. Probable cost of changes that are not in those COs are listed up here. Many of the items from, basically just about all of these items in change order 7, in essence, moved from below the line here up into that change order. There's some items here that I've highlighted in green, which is work that is either underway or being contemplated relative to outside of the tract contract there. So just a reminder that second floor plaster and crack repair, although I know that there was some painting that was base scope painting that was done in there. So Amy, I don't know if you've looked at that to see whether a bunch of this may have been actually addressed or covered by some of the painting that had gone on. Have you had a chance to look at that any closer?
I have not.
Well, maybe the next time that I'm down, I can grab you and we can take a look at that.
Definitely. Thank you.
Additionally, there's a feed. There's an existing hose bib on the outside of the building in the north or northeast side of the building, and that needs to get refed. We were originally thinking that the contractor would be doing that. There is either a city plumber or library plumber that is due tomorrow on site to change out a water meter that's requiring shut off of water to the library temporarily in the street to be able to make that change out of the water meter. And at that time tomorrow, he's also going to do that, connecting that hose bib up. And so we're just kind of identifying, $1,000 for that work. Expect that to likely be less than that. This elevator 4th floor lockout we had talked about That is the number on the proposal and the PO to United Elevator. And we're having them do the work so that we're not voiding any warranties for any of the modernization work that they've done on the elevator. And then there's kind of a newer item, which is this caulking of the granite steps. Deborah, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
We owned some repairs at the granite step, resetting one that was loose, those Dutchmen that were mentioned earlier. The joints between the steps was something that wasn't clearly shown on the drawings. The options are to either use point it with mortar or caulk it. But most of the joints are already open and missing mortar, so it really needs to be done. It's less expensive and some consider better to use caulk rather than mortar. So it's a scope item. I don't know, Evan, do you have a number for that?
So we, via email, we got a number of just over 14,000 for that work.
That seems huge.
It does seem a bit strong.
Maybe we could get,
Yeah.
how
So I
many
think
steps
there's
is it? About 15 steps? In it?
Yeah, I would expect, right, there's some mortar removal that needs to go on, but then it just needs to get caulked. And,
Right. And I think the mason said they would just go ahead and remove that mortar and maybe even not, in their current scope. So it's really just the caulker. I would think that it can be done for less than that number.
Well,
Is it even a day's, a day, 2 guys for a day? I can't imagine they can't do that.
Yep, no, I wouldn't disagree. That this is the number that we got from the contractor, so I figured I'd float that out there. I think just generally this hose bib work, the elevator lockout, and the addressing the granite steps are items that should be done. And I think just ultimately we want to make sure that we're not completely walking away from the project without facilitating trying to get that done. So I think we can reach out to some folks to see who might be able to give us some pricing and be able to do that work outside the tract contract.
I was just thinking that Jeremy and I, for $1,000 a step, might be there this weekend.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many projects where that has gone through my mind. I said, I'll do it for half.
And still make a lot of money. Okay. Anything else that you need to go over with us?
Evan, I've got 2 quick questions before we move on. You said there was $12,000 worth of E-rate work within change order number 7. That's not the same work that we voted a transfer from the municipal council to do that out of the library's budget itself, right?
I believe that it's the same. I believe that's the same scope of work that we're talking about. So I would gather that there's some internal accounting that needs to go on to basically reimburse the project for that amount.
So TRAC is doing the work. Amy.
They did the work already.
They have already done the work.
This, if you remember, we had the contractor on site, the subcontractor, and they did all the patching when they were doing the patching that we owned for the work of TRAC. So that was the estimate was that the additional holes that they fixed was about $12,000.
Okay, so we will figure out the funding piece, figure out the accounting piece.
But it's okay to include it in the change order?
We may have to revisit it.
Okay. Well, we'll do whatever Deb Gould tells us to do.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, honestly, whatever that issue is, one way or another, TRAC's getting paid for this. So to me, it seems ridiculous to jump through hoops. I can certainly see, the city wanting to kind of keep accounting straight and whatnot, but, anything other than, kind of reimbursing the quote unquote project. There's kind of no way around that Track did the work and needs to get paid for it.
And we were not saying that. What we're
Right.
saying is just that we have to make sure that we take the money out of the right pocket in the right order. And sometimes form trumps substance, Evan, and especially with municipal finance. So Jeremy will look at that with the auditor and figure out the appropriate way to account it for it. But we know that we authorize the work to be done and it needs to be paid for.
Yeah. So
It's certainly
if I
cost
could,
effective to have the same person there who was already patching holes to just patch a few more holes.
Definitely.
correct.
All right, so do we need then to take a roll call vote on change order number 7, Jeremy?
We do.
Does anybody have any questions on this before we ask for the motion?
So Jack, I have a question about this. $14,000 for caulking. I'm glad they brought it up. I mean, that number.
That's not in
is-
this, like, just so we're clear, that's not in this change order.
Oh, okay. All right, then we'll talk about that at a later time.
Yeah, that's an item that we need to get additional pricing on, Mike. That's just one of the things that is left to be done. But since we exceeded the amount of change orders that we could appropriately give to Track, we needed to get a separate bidding on this. And so the first bid that came in seems extreme. So we're going to get some other pricing on that.
All right, I thank you both on that. I mean, it's just, this is way above extreme as far as I'm concerned, $14,000. You know what I mean? It's always, been my thing in the construction field where the general contractor is actually doing punch out lists, little things that can be done like this. This is a small task, especially I think they said 13 or 14 stairs. So
Yeah, so Mike, this is indicative of what happens when the contractor clearly doesn't want to do the work.
Yes.
The caulker still has work to do, so they'll be back anyway for the windows. That definitely is one thing they'll still be back for.
Right, but I think Evan's right that when a contractor really doesn't want to do the work, they give you a price that's so extreme that if you accept it, they'll gladly do the work.
yes,
So-
I agree, and thanks for that. I mean, with granite stairs and stuff like that, in my experience, it's the gap between them is going to be a mortar joint more than it's going to be a caulking joint. You know what I mean? So I'm just, we see that kind of numbers thrown out. I just think that's a totally ridiculous number. I realize the contractor may not want to do it, but to present that number, I think is just kind of unrealistic. I mean, for the work that it entails, that's all.
We're preaching to the choir, Mike. We agree with you.
I know, but if I sit here quiet, Jack, then you'll wonder what's wrong with me. You know what I mean? So I have to express that, concern. We had, high school students doing caulking over the concession stand for us for nothing on a Saturday. And then all of a sudden we're getting an estimate of $14,000 to caulk around 14 granite stairs. It's just a little unrealistic for me. That's all.
Yep, we agree with you. I think it's unanimous. So other than that, are we ready to vote on change order number 7?
Move to approve.
Second,
Thank you, Jeremy.
Terry,
yes.
Ed. Yes. Jackie,
Yes.
Gail. Do we have Gail still?
Yeah.
Jerry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Jack.
Yes, it's unanimous. So we'll take up the bills at the end, but we have a bunch of bills here. So Evan, you and Deb, you're both recommending the Track application 12 for $423,000.
Correct.
Yes.
And we have a bill from Evan for $13,000. Evan, we've got 3 BH&A bills. All those are in order?
They are. We recommend payment.
Okay. What's Ewing Associates? Oh, that's something that you arranged for the IR roof scan, correct?
Yeah, that's the roofing consultant that did that moisture and IR scan, $1,500.
And did we resolve that issue? Because I thought it found that there was some dampness in some places.
So he identified a number of places, and those have been marked on the roof, and we're in the process of getting the roofing manufacturer to come on site and witness when the roofer opens those cuts up to see if in fact there's enough moisture that they need to replace that. And that would be a warranty issue, or whether potentially there were some false readings or it's not an issue relative to warranty.
Okay. And do we know when that will happen?
There was something that was originally scheduled. So the short answer is no, but I would certainly expect that that would get squared away within the next month.
Okay. And then we have UTS of Massachusetts for material testing. Was that through you, Jeremy, or was that through Evan?
No, that was one of the 3 kind of testing engagements that we had: the IR roof scan, the materials testing, and then Thompson Lichtner was the 3rd. So UTS came out, took a number of samples. Evan was happy with their work, and no more invoices coming from them. It's just a one-time deal.
Okay. So any questions on those bills?
I have a question regarding the roof and the roofer coming out and the scanning. Does it need to be rescanned once the roofer corrects it?
That's a good question.
No. Typically, they identify areas that are in question, and then those areas are opened up, and some exploratory work is done to confirm whether there's in fact wet insulation that needs to get replaced. And at each location, they do those cuts, make those confirmations, and if materials need to be replaced, they replace them and do a re-roof in that area.
And that's solely relies on the roofer to make that determination?
No. So we're having we're having the manufacturer come out, right? These are the folks that provide the
Right.
warranty on the roof. And I will also be there to witness.
Okay, that was,
those cuts.
sorry, I didn't ask the question properly. That was my question. Who oversees what they're doing?
Yeah, so I am the babysitter for that event.
Okay. Well, you know how roofs go.
No, absolutely, just like HVAC systems.
The 2 hardest things in any project to get right.
Yes. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. So then anything else that you need to update us on, Evan?
Not really. You did. You also had a soft cost change log, which was unchanged from I think the last 2 meetings. So I can certainly pull that up if you want, but I just wanted to include it in the packet. So just because everyone has been, receiving those over the last months.
Yeah, no, I think we're good.
Yep.
Anything you want to add, Deb?
No,
Amy?
Well, I'm gonna have nightmares about a new sidewalk. But no, we're good. We can't wait for the ribbon cutting and to have you all here on the library property in person.
Great. You're going to be rolling some marbles down the new walk to see if they roll or not?
I'm gonna go get my own smart level just to be sure.
So Jack, if I could, before we end this, I mean, Evan, I want to end it on a positive note. I mean, I'm not trying to be negative about the project. It's a great project, and you guys should be commended upon the work that you've been able to accomplish during these trying times. As somebody that deals with it every day, the supply lines are day and night. You don't know what you can get, what you can't get in certain times. So I definitely want to commend you on how far we've come along with this project and be able to proceed during these trying times. So I'm not trying to pick on certain areas, but I think also if we're going to talk about things that we might have concerns about, we also need to express our gratitude toward your company and having the ability to proceed with this job during the probably one of the toughest times that I've seen in my career.
Well, certainly appreciate that, Mike. You know, the types of things that we were doing at the library were difficult during any time, you know, are difficult items during any times. So, you know, I think Deborah and her folks at BH&A are a big part of that. And, you know, the overall team, you folks overseeing it as well. Glad to be getting closer to the absolute finish line. And, you know, it's a wonderful project, a beautiful building, and we're glad to be involved.
Yeah, and I also think that, you know, Track seemed to be a very good contractor and very sensitive to the historic nature of the areas that they were working in.
Absolutely.
Just looking at those balconies and the repair work that had to be done, they don't make balconies like that anymore, do they?
Nope, they do not.
So, all right, well, thank you. Our next meeting is December 1st. So you can mark that library-related things in your calendar. And I guess we'll move on to Grapes Zawatsky next.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Right.
Have a good night.
Night.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mark.
Thank you. Good evening. I took the vacation that you so graciously allowed me to do last month. Went up to Napa, California, hence the grapes, and drove down the Pacific Coast Highway all the way to San Diego with my wife as a bucket list trip. So thank you so much for giving me the time off to do that.
Did you stop at the Hearst Castle?
It's closed.
Oh.
But yes, we drove right by it. And just a few miles further south is Pepperdine. And it made me wonder why I didn't go to school there on the Pacific Coast. Anyway, good evening. So
you want to talk to us about the fire department roofs?
Certainly. During the month of October, I had an on-site meeting with the project manager and general superintendent for Gibson Roofing to discuss their logistics and site plan. We met with the chief, Chief LaChance, and we reviewed their draft plan, made some edits to it, and it is working its way in formal form through the architect as a formal submittal. And in addition to that, other submittals, the roofing material, all of the insulation, the fasteners, everything from a single source manufacturer have been submitted, have been reviewed and approved, and we are on order. And my understanding from Gibson Roof is that they're planning to start and complete during the month of December. So we're on target, on track, although albeit maybe a week or two behind schedule. We had intended to complete the project in its entirety with closeout by December 23rd. I think we're probably, closeout going to extend into January, but the work should be complete in the month of December. Given all the supply chain issues, because these two projects are small enough, the material has been allocated to Gibson, given their large volume work. And we're fortunate that we don't have to defer the project till next spring. and that we can get these roofs done before winter snows, hopefully.
Mike has assured us that it won't snow this winter and he won't have to spend any of his plowing budget.
Here, here. I second that motion. So are there any other questions on the fire department roofs before we move on to the school gymnasium floors?
Hearing none, we'll move along.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So regarding the school gym floors, the architect and engineer solicitation is in process or in progress. The advertisement for the Central Register went in mid-October, along with all the other associated advertisements. We had an on-site walkthrough already. We had 4 attendees, although other bidders, it wasn't a mandatory pre-bid, so we could have more potential respondents. Questions are due by Friday, and the bids are due 1 week from today. So hopefully we'll know exactly where we stand on from an AE standpoint on the 10th. So that begs the question, understanding that it needs to be reviewed by the MBC about establishing a schedule for distribution of those responses to the independent members of this commission, and then scheduling a meeting to rank and make a recommendation of award.
Yeah, so it would be a 2-part process. One would be that we would choose who to interview. If there were only 4 bidders, we might as well interview all 4 of them. If there were more than that, we need to reduce the number. And so I'm just wondering if we should perhaps schedule a special meeting to take care of that. I'm wondering, we have, so you're saying November 10th, a week from today, is when those things are due, Mark?
Yep.
Correct.
And on the 17th, we have a school building committee. So, and we probably don't want to meet on the night before Thanksgiving. I guess I'm guessing we wouldn't get much attendance. So I'm wondering, do we want to wait till December 1st and do that ranking as part of our regular meeting? Because I'm thinking we're not going to have all that much business. We're not going to have much to do with the library at that point, right? What do you think, Jeremy?
Yeah, the Thanksgiving week is where I would want to do it, but I don't want to do it with Thanksgiving. So
unless we did it on like a Monday, on
18th or something.
Well, I've got zoning board that night. I'm wondering if we do we want to choose a Monday or Tuesday night, like the 22nd or 23rd? What does the group think?
Well, if we have only 4, I think pushing it out's not so bad. But if we get 5, 6 responses, we would need 1 meeting to rank, 1 meeting to interview.
Right.
I wouldn't want to let the ranking meeting go into December if we had to do this as a 2-part.
All right. So,
Mr. Chairman, if I may, while we're in early November, one might not think that time is of the essence, but I can most assuredly tell you that it is. I put together a Gantt chart schedule, and we need to be in design phase at the end of the first week of December in order to ensure that we can then complete the design, come back to you, obtain authorization and approval to go out for bidding, so that we can then order long lead items so that we can actually do this work in the summer of 2022. I'm concerned on behalf of the city of Attleboro, if we defer and delay these design award decisions, that we could jeopardize the summer slammer work, and we may not be able to get material and or good bids. So I don't want to be the merchant of doom here or the merchant of no, but I would certainly make a recommendation to the commission that they act with velocity at this critical stage.
All right, and so if they're coming in on the 10th, we all need some time to read through the proposals. I'm wondering if November 22nd, a Monday night, would be the time to have a special meeting. And if we only get 4 bids, we could arrange for interviews that night. And if we get more than that, we can use that to cut. And then maybe we could, figure out from there whether we're going to have a meeting like on the 29th or something of November to have interviews. So how's
Jack, I
that
would
sound?
not be available on the 22nd, but I would be available Tuesday, the 23rd.
Okay. Jim has a council meeting. You can't see him, but he's lobbying hard. So I would like to, accommodate everybody, but obviously, Kelly, we don't want to hold the interviews the night of the 22nd then if you're not around. Even though, can you accommodate us? What?
Could you do the 29th?
I can certainly try it. I'll see if I can move some things around and I will let you know for sure. I will do my best. So why don't we go with the 22nd and I'll see what I can do.
Okay.
Could you do the 29th and do?
Well, we may have to do the 22nd and the 29th, because if we have to cut them, then we got to do it that way. So why don't we pencil in the 22nd and the 29th, and let's Jeremy keep us surprised and Mark keep us surprised to how many and what we'll be doing, because if there's only 4, we should do it on, we can do the whole thing on the 22nd. If there's 8, we're gonna have to do it on the 2 Mondays in a row.
Are you looking in person or virtual?
That would be my question.
I think we need to do it in person. The virtual didn't really work out that well to me. So Jeremy will look for a place that we can go.
Yeah, I don't know what, yes, I will figure something out and let you all know.
The meeting we had at Studley worked out well, but I also know that I haven't been in Peter Thatcher in a long time. Can you do Peter Thatcher? Because for those of you who haven't seen the pavilion of Peter Thatcher, that's quite impressive as well. So we'll let everybody know what's going on. Thank you, Kelly. So mark those down right now before something else happens. NBC. All right.
So Jack, I have a question if I could.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make the last meeting. Mark, if you can explain a little bit more in detail, that it seems to me that now to fit the funding inside the box that was allotted, that we have to change it because of an unknown circumstance or whatever. Can we talk about that a little bit and what that may mean to the final project? Or
Mike,
maybe
I think what you're referring to is the fact that we were anticipating wood floors and now we're going to have to go to a composite floor. And so is that what you're asking?
That's exactly what I'm asking, because I can tell you, as a still current basketball coach, which I tried to retire 2 years ago, I've stated it from day one. I mean, the composite floors are not athletic friendly. They are in any way, shape, or form. I realize they can be utilized for, and that's why we kind of stress from the point, or I stress from the point, that it should be the hardwood flooring. I do believe, and I say this kind of with a heavy heart, a little bit. I mean, the city has certified enough free cash in this year's budget where I think this commission may want to think about increasing the price of this project to get what we originally wanted to do out of it. So I'm a little concerned about how the cost jumped up because of an unforeseen.
Well, the cost didn't jump up, Mike. Here's the short answer, and Mark, you can chime in, but if I remember right, those floors are about 3/8 of an inch thick, and the wood floor would be something over 2 inches. And so if we put the wood floors in, we now would have handicapped accessibility problems. We'd be ramping, we'd be redoing doorways in order to make them fit in. The alternative, I think, Mark, would be that we tear up the concrete pad, we dig down, we put a new concrete pad in, and then put the wood floor on top of it to match the existing height. We're thinking that that's an extra $500,000 to accomplish that, and we just don't have that in our budget. So, Mark, is that a fair summary of the issue?
Yes. So when I first made my initial field inspection, I noted that the existing flooring at these two schools, which are virtually identical, is a synthetic material that has an overall thickness of approximately 3/8 of an inch. It was originally specified as Mondo flooring or equivalent. And so there are 7 doorways, some singles, a lot of doubles, pairs of doors, if you will. And the adjacent floor material, whether it be corridors, whether it be offices or changing rooms or vestibules, or even the storage room, that it's all continuous at a single elevation, call it elevation 0. In order to achieve a hardwood floor that is placed on sleepers or is a hybrid form, you need a minimum of 1.5 inches, but preferably upwards of 2 inches across the profile of it. So what we would have to do is, in order to put in a true hardwood floor that has all the bounce characteristics that, Mike, you've described as a coach and we've all experienced as players and recreationalists, is we would need to remove that existing concrete floor, redo the substrate, scan, go through the entire process. And then what we would have is we would have to, and even if we were able to do all that, or because otherwise we would have to ramp up, and we can't really put ramps into the storage room, or we can't adequately put ramps into the office area or into the changing rooms. So it doesn't make sense to just build up from what you have. Also, all the hoops would have to be increased in height because obviously we need to maintain the 10 foot from finished floor to edge of hoop, bottom of hoop. So it created a number of issues and characteristics. So I had, I'm sharing the screen right now. So this is a picture of the existing flooring. This is your concrete floor here, and this is the thickness of that existing material. And so the chairman and members of the city council asked the question, what would it take in order to put in a real gym floor that looks something like this? And in order to do that, I put together a order of magnitude cost, but I understand that you're looking for the playability. But what I was hoping to do, and what the direction that I've received so far, is to replace with in-kind material, but to give it the look, feel, and appearance of a hardwood floor. So that's one thing. And then the other element of it was that, given the fact that these are elementary schools and that their size precludes the use or installation of stands, it was less likely that these were going to be used in competitive basketball situations, because there's really no place for attendees, visitors, or people to stand, because the gyms are only about 7,700 square feet. Just large enough for the complete basketball court without really any very much additional room. So those were some of the reasons and rationale why we were looking at a direct in-kind replacement rather than implementing a more traditional hardwood flooring basketball court arrangement.
Mike, two other points. One is that we brought this to the attention of the Capital Improvements Committee a few weeks ago, and they did not have a taste for increasing our budget. And one other thought, these schools are now 46 years old, and at some point, they are going to need some major rehabilitation work. And personally, I'm not sure that it's prudent to put a 75-year floor into a building that may, within 15 or 20 years, need to be ripped apart substantially and redone. We all know that the educational aspects of both of those buildings are challenged as well, the open classrooms. So I think that my initial inclination was to ask the question that you just asked and to say, why can't we do that? But as they say in the NFL, upon further review, I believe that we're going down the right path, but I'd like to hear more from you. Oh, Jeremy has something.
Yeah, just one more point to add to Mike, that yes, you talked about what did we find that was outside of our original budget, and just to kind of make sure we frame this project correctly, we are funding this with the piece left over from Brennan and Wamsutter's loan authorization. So our budget was not based upon what we think the cost is going to be. Our budget was based upon what we had left over from our prior authorization. The budget based on how much we thought it was going to be was done by the school department, just kind of in a $1 per square foot, remove and replace. We didn't have the design, we didn't have a project manager, we didn't have a design firm associated. It was thought of in kind of much smaller scale. So I think I want to make sure that your tether to the initial cost of the project. I don't think that was a great number to start from. I think they were missing a lot of information. And I think Mark's letter from last week kind of illustrated that, or last month kind of illustrated that.
Yeah, I thank you both for that follow-up. I mean, on this case, I think we may have inadvertently put the cart before the horse. We actually put a price tag on something before we actually knew what we were going to be able to do. And that's kind of always a problem. And it's been a reoccurring problem. I'm concerned about what we thought was going to happen, what's going to happen. I'm a reality person. I can understand all the variables that have been stated tonight about why we're trying to fit this thing inside the box and the aging of the schools and whether or not it's worthwhile to go beyond that for that. But I just want this commission to know we have to be careful going forward about kind of seeing what our expectations are. But instead of actually doing the homework ahead of time, and I understand with this situation, we're using carryover money to try to utilize it in the best way, because it probably would never happen if it didn't happen. But we're not getting what we wanted. And for any person, a homeowner or anybody else, not getting what you want, to me, is not acceptable. I'm not one to go against that. So I guess at the end of the day, it is what it is. I'm just very concerned about not getting the project that we thought we were originally going to get. I mean, and I guess I'll end it at that. I'm not trying to be negative tonight. I'm just kind of dumbfounded on how we got here a little bit. And at the end of the day, I know we're going to new basketball courts for the students. It's going to be beneficial. But the surface that we're going to be providing, I don't think is the best option that Attleboro should have took. That's all.
Well, we respect your points, Mike. And, you know, the way the process works is that the city comes up with a capital improvements budget, and they get very good faith estimates from department heads. But by the time the project's turned over to us, you know, we then actually go out and hire a designer and figure out what needs to be done. And so one of the things Jeremy and I have talked about a lot recently is the idea that the capital improvements budget probably needs a different approach. I mean, I remember when we did the animal shelter and Butch Kiefer had a number, and it was about a quarter of what we ended up spending. And I remember asking him, and he said, well, I just took the biggest number I ever thought I could possibly get and put that on the capital project. And I didn't realize that we'd be able to do, everything we needed to do. And so I think that I'm not criticizing anybody, but I am saying that the entire way that we go about capital improvements probably needs a rethought.
If I could add a couple of comments, Mike, I agree with you. I think that we have to ask ourselves, what is the scope here? What is the work that we were expecting? If we were expecting a replace with a very similar type of floor, this is literally just a swapping it out for something new because the existing floor isn't serviceable anymore. That's one thing. And that's what it looks like what we're getting. But if we came into this, or if the city came into this expecting that we were going to be upgrading these floors and putting in hardwoods, which is something different than what we've had, then, realistically, we should wait and make sure that we get the funding to do that project appropriately. But, again, it goes back to what is the scope of the work and what is the requirement here? If the requirement is just to replace it with something similar to what we have, I think that's what we're doing.
I'll say from an administration perspective, I would not endorse and would not send down an additional $500,000 to jackhammer out concrete floors, the subfloor, to put something new in for the reasons Jack had said about longevity, but also the upkeep of wood floors is a lot more on a year-to-year basis, and the kind of daily school users have, until this floor started to break down, had success with this floor. So, the dollars in the fund are what they are right now, and I would not expect the administration to send down a free cash appropriation that would, be a 50% increase in this fund to put in wooden floors.
Agreed.
Are we finished with discussing this project? I guess so.
I don't have anything else to present at
Okay.
this time. Obviously, we're going to be responding to any questions received. Jeremy will be sending that answer out upon receipt, come Friday afternoon, and then we'll see how many and what the quality of those bids are. The respondents or the potential respondents that came to the pre-bid all appeared to be very qualified and have a proven track record of successful prior projects. So I think at a minimum, we will get 3 quality responses or more.
Okay, very good. Then before we go to pay the bills, Jeremy, is there any update on the Attleboro Pawtucket water interconnect?
There is. I didn't put it on the agenda. I got it Tuesday morning. As you know, our engineer was hiking in Vermont for 6 weeks. So the plans are set to be scheduled or set to be sent to the Mass DEP this Friday, who has told us that we can expect a 1-month turnaround on that. I don't know whether to believe that from the DEP or not. Things have been going slowly on state level agencies for us getting other things certified, but they've been told a 1-month turnaround, which means bidding for the project would happen January through mid-March, and then construction April, May, maybe into August, with closeout in September. That's the current schedule. CDM has also indicated that they will be putting together an additional amendment to seek another change order for the additional work incurred, which will have to come before this body for approval or not. So that's where we're at right now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Any questions on that? And then is there a motion to pay the bills?
Move to
By
pay
the
the
way,
bills.
Yeah, Mark, you endorsed the CBI bill, correct?
From October, yes.
Okay, thank you. So there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Jeremy?
Terry,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Jack.
Yes, passes unanimously. So next meetings are probably the 22nd of November, maybe the 29th, definitely the 1st of December. And unless anybody has anything else, we'll take a motion to adjourn at whatever time my phone says it is, which is 6:40.
Move to adjourn.
Second,
Terry,
yes.
Ed.
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Jack.
Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Sounded like it was shit.